toxic.
Very stressful, and a lot of deadlines that you had to fulfill.
Well, that, and it's what more the problem was with me is like I could never stand up for myself. Like it was like I couldn't find my voice there, or I couldn't get balance, or I couldn't ask for help or anything like that. So it's like I didn't get the help I needed to not get cancer. You know, like I was pretty much on my own until cancer made me ask for help. Like I just had to. Like I couldn't. There were things I just couldn't do, and there continue to be things that I just can't do because like my one vertebrae is fractured. It's like it's not just ever going to heal. It's fractured forever.
Right.
You know, and like because of the surgery, I can't do certain things, and like forever. And
so now, do you feel like you have a voice? I'm sure. Do you feel like you can stand up to yourself when it comes to certain issues?
Oh, absolutely. I told I mean, the thing with that you have to do when you are so I've been thinking a lot about because I've had a lot of time on my hands since I haven't been going to work. I'm on disability. Hold on.
Sure.
I have this great shot. I was with a friend last night, and I was taping myself, and I was talking about things. I was here, and I like blew smoke, and it's just like it's like this special effect that like the smoke just goes like right across the lens.
Does the camera see it? I wonder if you can see it on the video.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
nice.
No,
that's how I knew because I saw the video. I'm like, that is cool.
Special effects like the Matrix.
Yeah. But
we're back live.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
All right, what was I answering?
All right, so I mean, we can go back to the topic that we're talking about. Post cancer. Pre-cancer couldn't really find that voice. Post cancer, you found the voice.
Yeah. Well, you have to be your own advocate, and this is something. I mean, with me, and I don't know that everyone's cancer experience is like this, but it kind of propelled me. I was always my life will start when? My life will start when I lose 40 pounds. My life will start when I get a boyfriend. My life will start when and I know I'm not the only person. I have friends who are like this. We've said these words to each other. I read the articles in magazines. I'm not the only one who feels like this. So as I was going through my experience, I was paying attention. One, because I've always wanted to be creative. I'm like, every now and again I'll write stuff. I'm like, maybe I might not suck as a writer. But I'm like, well, what do I have to say? Like, who would want to read what the hell I write? But then as I was having my cancer experience, I would say, I would learn things that would help me deal with, my life at the moment or whatever, because it just takes an enormous amount of strength to not anything. Not anything. Not like if you stub your toe. I mean, people have transformative experiences all the time. They get into car accidents and, so it's like, I would have, cancer gives you time to plan, mostly, so I'm like, what question was I answering? I went off in another direction.
No, that's fine. No, well, you're talking about how your life is busy and, the idea of setting goals for yourself. And I guess cancer sort of, in a way, would make you set goals for yourself and be creative and just make you a thinker / a good time management sort of person.
I don't know that cancer does that for anyone else. I just how I approached it. One, I just like to figure out how things work. It's just my nature. My nature is to be inquisitive and know things. And again, since I had been wanting to change, I was looking. Oh, so the one question I hadn't finished is. Early on, everyone tells you a story about who they know with cancer. Everyone knows someone with cancer, which is why I'm like, as I have time and the activist in me, I'm like, everyone knows someone who has cancer, and I'm like, And then I kind of look around and I'm like, isn't anyone else really concerned about that? like more people should be concerned about that fact.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, I know I didn't have time to be concerned about that fact when I didn't have cancer. So since I was on disability, recovering from and going to radiation and blah, 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 we can, if you need to hear the whole medical history, we can go there, but it's long and boring. But it gave me time. I'm like, okay, in order for me to heal myself, I have to not go into, there's the environment that, there's the actual physical thing that's there, but then, there's a book I read called the Anti-Cancer New Way of Life, I think. So I did, you read about cancer. That's
you do your research. You
yeah.
think about it. You breathe it, right?
Yeah. You pretty. I don't know that everyone does this, but yes, I was I need information. I can't,
Exactly.
if I don't know that I have questions, you don't know what you don't know, so you have to be inquisitive to be like, oh, okay, so now I need to know some things about cancer because, it's my life. So
it's directly affecting you.
Yeah.
And you have to be knowledgeable in order for you to do certain things to.
Yeah. How I look at people is all right, I am my own CEO of my company, and I get guidance from people. I hire this doctor to tell me things. I'm okay, well. The thing about change is you have to allow for the fact that you're not right. Because, if you just fight to the death that you are right, you're not going, if you're both like that, there's no point in even having a discussion because you're not.
You got to be willing to listen, and you have to be willing to accept certain things
so,
that you have to do.
Yeah, and if you're not good at it, you play, the what if game. What if... blah, blah, blah. I don't know. There's no judgment when you what if. What if we wore purple chicken suits tomorrow, Danny?
Yeah. There's always a consequences. There's always a choice involved in your decision, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, though, that I'm going to group America kind of together. Obviously, I don't mean everyone does this when I say that, but I'm going to make some broad generalizations because I was like Josephine America. I always knew who was going to get voted American Idol and things I just kind of know, I was the over 60% of us are overweight. I was one of those people. I was, the sedentary, whatever. I live my life the way the majority of Americans live their life. So I'm all right, if I can change, then I know that
the average American
can change.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so there's no big, we're waiting for the next pill, or, I'm not saying everyone, I feel we're, the wind is, I can't come up with a good saying here, but the seeds of change are upon us, or whatever. It's the 99%, it's this was not my idea. Change was not my idea, how change happened for me was, I read one thing about something I had been thinking about. It's actually a book called The Poet by Michael Connelly. It's just a random killer thriller, detective thing, but I was just diagnosed with cancer, and I'd been thinking about my mother a lot. She killed herself when I was 14, and I was just entering high school, so it kind of got me through the final stage of grief with her, because I don't know, I was able to that was some the stuff that I guess the only reason I even touch on it is your past can create, if you don't let that stuff go, if you don't process things that happen to you, you create cancer. Now, I'm going to use cancer very broadly here. I'm going to say,
you sort of use this word cancer as a different metaphor, as a different terminology now, right?
Cancer for something that needs to change.
Because you were saying that you can't be attached to certain past experiences in your life in order for you not to get this cancer that you was talking about. You have to let go of certain things in your life. Right?
You do. You have to let go. It was, and the way I learned, the way that I was able to let go, and of all the, there was someone who had wronged me, no one has wronged anyone before, or me, and he was my best friend at the time, and I'd given him well, you've met him actually, but oh, you know him. So he screwed me over royally while I had cancer, and I had held on, like, that gave me anxiety and stuff like that. I'm like, how could he do this? And when I finally realized, I'm like, I can't, my body, what I need to, like, it made me more zen. It's like I had to kind of really bring things in and stop pushing so much energy out, because, like, my body needed to contain and heal. So it's like, as soon as I realized that, like, all the energy, like, I'm trying to cure cancer here. So I really have to let go of anything that takes my focus away from healing.
Right, and I feel that, you know, when it comes to cancer, you sort of have this negative feeling or negative people, hence the saying, you are who you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order for you to let go of certain negative things, you have to kind of, like, find, like, who you are as a person and who you want to be.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of hang out with people that are positive in your life, right?
Yeah, I did. Now, luckily, I did not have to. I went through a couple of purges. After 9/11, like, if people couldn't bother to see if I was dead or not. You know, like, so that was an easy one. I can be like, okay, I can so let you go. Like, we hang on to these relationships.
A huge tragedy.
Yeah, oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is, like, you need to, in order to change, you need, like, I'm going through, like, cleanses, and cleansing is not a bad thing. Like, letting go of people in your life who have certainly become toxic. They should go, just like right now. And, you know, like, to do that, you have to fight society's standards. Like, because how I say this, and this is interesting from a social networking thing. So this guy had wronged me in all sorts of ways.
Oh, stop.
Okay, so if it stopped, it doesn't matter if you talk, right? You don't have to do.
I'm just saying for my boy.
Yeah, it stopped. It's all right. Can we play? It's perfect. We're back live.
See, that's why we need 3 people.
Yeah, Jose. By the way, you're incorporated into this project
right now
because we're gonna ask you questions in regards to
I'm down.
AC, not Atlantic City, but after cancer. So
After
keep that in
cancer.
mind. You know.
You've only ever known me with cancer.
And I'm gonna know you without cancer.
See?
So we're talking about this whole idea of you know who are you who you are
who you hang around with.
The idea of letting go of certain things, letting go of attachments that can be harmful to your life.
Yeah. Now, there are the interesting thing with my friends, and I don't. It's kind of like, I don't know who started it, and it doesn't actually matter. It's like, the second you change the world. This is how I know that the world can change, because the second I change, I forever interact with people from a different viewpoint.
Different point of view, different perspective. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And the more, it's like, I've learned so much in the last year, really in the last 3 months of my life, because of how I continue to, like, you have to be willing to be open, you know,
right.
Like, it's,
listen.
Right, it takes a leap of faith to say, hey, I might not be right, because then you kind of lose control a little, but you don't, you know, like, because if there's, so I had to learn to trust people, like, with cancer, I'm like, I can't do this myself, so I have to trust people. Like, I did things myself all the time. I was like type A personality. I never wanted to delegate. I was too much of a perfectionist. Yeah, so that all contributed to my cancer.
Right.
So this is why I'm saying, like, I have to, like, I do believe there is a way. I haven't found it yet. Like, it may require me moving out of the city so I can get out of the, you know, the toxic chemicals thing. Like, I think I'm going to start by, so kind of like so this is the new story that you haven't heard yet.
So this is AC, after cancer.
This is today.
Okay.
This is like this week. So yes,
okay,
after
sure.
cancer. So
we got BC and AC. This is AC, guys. After cancer.
Yeah, there's kind of, and there's some, because there's like, after cancer, which is May 10th or May 18th, 2010. But then I was in like the curable cancer stage until 2/11/11 when I graduated with my last radiation. I threw this big party, which I can't believe you never came upstairs and like found it.
It's a different story, guys.
Danny. You and Ed, man. Where the hell are you? It was a rockin' party. But then, and not even that, and then I went to Belize, and then, like 3 weeks after, I was re-diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And that's when things are different, because even though, like, no doctor said this, like, when you hear that it's metastasized, like, you start, like, the ticking clock, like, you start hearing the tick in your head. I'm certain I'm not the only one who's heard that, because, like, you know, like, you've heard about, like, the 5-year statistics, and, you know, like, just, so, that's when I became more, not immediately, like, first off, I planned my death, so I got I'm a planner, so, while I didn't, you know, like, I'm a dreamer, and I'm an overachiever, so it's like, so there are these 5-year, or there are these survival rates, and I'm like, well, someone is that dot all the way on the right. Someone's that dot, so I'm like, well, I want to be that dot, so I'm going to be that dot, you know, I'm like, what do I need to do to be that dot? And, so that's what I'm working on right now. Only time will tell with that, but, you know, it is more of like, there are different kinds of breast cancer. So I have the backup of Western medicine, which I'm not fully ready to be like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move to a mountaintop and try this myself, you know, because, so I'm going to, like, try and balance the line between, and, like, really push off taking drugs and, you know, like, fighting back with, you know, like, so I'm going to be an ornery patient, because I'm like, I truly believe that there is a more holistic way to go, but this is what, you know, this is what they train for, you know, so I'm not, like, faulting them as people, you know, like, the people who want me to have surgery or take the drugs or do the radiation or all that business. I just know I don't want to do any more of that business, you know, because it attacks my body every time, so
there's an effect that happens to your body whenever you take a certain drug.
Yeah.
Or if you do radiation, you know, your body feels, you know, different.
Right.
You know, there's an effect, basically.
Well, and I think that, like, I think just even broader, like, I didn't have anything else that I needed. Like, I was healthy as an ox before cancer. It's not like I was a sickly child or anything like that. It's kind of funny. Like, as I was growing up, I was so mad that I was maybe, like, 7 or 8, and I got so mad at God for not ever, like, I never broke a bone or was really sick, and I was so pissed. I'm like, he's just saving it up. I had this thought when I was, like, 7, and I didn't really know what it meant, and I didn't know it was going to be this, but I was just, like, so terrified that I didn't have, like, the regular bumps and bruises of a kid. I'm like, oh, wow, like, it's coming, because, like, everyone gets their due, you know, and, so, yeah, it was a good old wallop. And then, you know, you hear the platitudes like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And pretty much when you get stage 4 cancer, you want to go like this, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, okay, you could have stopped right before then. So, I don't know, it makes you question everything. So when you're already questioning everything, your existence, when you're going to die, like, it's pretty easy to get into a mode of change. Like, you have to be open to changing.
Yeah.
You know, you can have all the people in the world tell you should change. Like, you should quit smoking. I'm like, yeah, duh, I know. I knew it when I started smoking. You know, this is why the shit needs to be illegal, because it kills, and we're not smart enough as humans to not do it. We're not smart enough as humans to not stuff our faces at McDonald's. We know it's killing us.
Yeah, you're right. You know, we know that fast food kills our body. We know that smoking kills our body, but we still do it.
Right. So this is the shit that government needs to. Yeah. I mean, you know, like, What are you doing?
This is gonna be in the prank section.
Great. Bunny ears, but don't touch the hair. Don't touch the dew. You know, it made me appreciate having hair more. Cancer. There's a period of my life where I had no hair on my body.
Right.
It's like I knew like you lost your head, the hair on your head, but like you lose it everywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't have to shave, which was a perk, but then you lose like your eyebrows and your nose hair. I'm like, and then you realize like how important nose hair is. It's like, whoa, that has an actual function that I did not know. I know because of cancer. There's something. I got the thumbs up.
So you're more appreciative of certain things. So now, where do you stand right now? You know,
cancer bad. Okay, I'm definitely on the anti-cancer team. Okay.
So not only are you looking to change the world, you're looking to do it one step at a time. You know, like you said, you want to start with one person.
Well, I don't even know how I did it. The first step is like the interesting thing. Again, for some reason, I had like, I've always been a behind-the-scenes person, so I'm the one who got stuff done. I was the stage manager, I was the right-hand gal, I was the step below the big idea. Somebody else had the big idea, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I can make that work. And then okay, alright, okay, I got that. Like, I was that person. And now I'm trying to be both people. Like, I need someone like me next. To be like, here's my idea. This is why Yeah, so there is some next to me. So... You know, like, so when I was first diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, I thought things like, I looked at my cat and cried because I'm like, am I going to outlive him? And he's like 16. He's like, I almost lost him 2 years ago. You perceive things differently. And I would imagine if you have a near-death experience, that what I'm trying to figure out is how to, not bottle it or something, but how to tell a story that gets a person from, like, because it kind of like the leaps and bounds, like evolution is kind of like my own internal evolution is what happens.
Evolving, right.
Now, is that, like, what I'm thinking of is like evolution where like a giant leap forward is taken by species. It's not just like, you know, because you're always evolving. There's little changes. I'm talking about like the
big step.
Yeah. You know, and that's where I got to. And, you know, like the epiphanies or whatever, I'm like, oh, and that's when I came up with the, like, my mantra. So I knew I wasn't living my life in a proper way, but I didn't know, like, we know what we're taught, you know, so I'm not faulting my parents, although, you know, like, one committed suicide, like, one wasn't really there for me, he was out with his pigeons, that will never be the light of day, but, you know, like, parents have, whatever, we all have, most of us have some thing about our parents. They were not perfect. How could they be? You know, so it's like they did the best they could. As soon as you realize that, like, you can kind of forgive. My parents never gave me. I fell into that camp, you know, like, so I was like, there was stuff that I was missing that I knew I was missing, and like that's the part I saw instead of. And this is how, like, if people could learn to argue this way, we would get, you know. So I'm trying to think about, like, how did I change my thinking? Because, like, thinking needs to change. You know, like, government. We'll just say that. Like, how government works just needs to change because they suck at it right now. You know, like, my needs are not being met. I look at the people who represent us as a country. I'm like, all white males. They're mostly white males.
Right.
That's bullshit. Okay, we are not.
So the idea of diversity should. You know. Yeah,
like, our government should represent the people in it, you know. I've had, now, the problem is, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like I don't want to do it,
right,
you know.
Exactly.
That's, like, you know, like, what government should be is, you know, like, it should be a privilege to serve, you know, like, your fellow man, and a limited time, you know, like, so, you know, kind of like the Israeli government. You know, like, everyone has to be in the Israeli government, you know, like, because they need a lot of protection. Like, they needed to take care of themselves over there. So, and I don't know what the commitment is, but everyone has to do it. You know, women, men, like, you get 21 or whatever the age is, and you serve 2 or 6, I don't know how many years, and then, like, you're done. Like, you do your tour of duty to protect, you know, like,
serve society, basically.
To serve society. I wish it didn't need to happen, you know, like, that's the world I'd like to get to. where we don't have to protect ourselves and have borders and blah, 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 you know, where we can just be like, I learned this great saying down in Peru. I love Peru. I want to go back to Peru. I want to live in Peru, basically. I have to learn how to speak Spanish, though, because like it just would have been better if I could communicate with people down there. That's my bad, not theirs.
Right.
What am I saying? Okay, so... 909, see, this is what I'm talking about. Palindrome.
Right. We're talking about the idea of serving your country, you know, the idea of giving back to the community, giving back to your country.
Yeah, so you do, you know, like, so
give
everyone
them
has, like, 4 years or
A little
whatever.
tour, basically, right, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, so everyone has to serve, like, so they do their time on the PTA or whatever, you know, like, so everyone does it.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to contribute to society in this way.
In one way or another. Right, exactly. And I feel that's really important. It makes us who we are as individuals, first of all. And second of all, you know, you're giving a good deed to, you know, to where you're at, you know, to society.
Yeah, well, when you, like, the opportunity that, you know, being of service has to people, you know, like, in the community, like, and I know there are people who volunteer, I just don't think we do enough. Like, I think a lot of the stuff that government does should be done through volunteerism,
Right.
you know, because, like, that's man helping your fellow man, and it's like, who can really say no to that?
Right.
You know,
right.
so it's like, I want to make the argument that, you know, like, there just came a point in so as far as, like, changing the world and, like, how people think, I'm like, there just came a point in my time in my life about, like, how the things I needed to do with cancer, that it's just like, all my arguments didn't work. I'd be like, yeah, but I'm like, oh, so I, you know, like, so, like, I just had no choice, like, I couldn't, like, just kind of like, duh, you know, like, I have to quit smoking,
Yeah.
duh,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, have I known this? Have I been saying that? Have I tried to quit forever? Yes, but it's like, that's the thing that it finally took for me. Now, that's pretty extreme.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, what can I do to shorten that distance in learning? You know, because that's what we're talking about here. When we're talking about change, we're talking about learning. Changing
Right.
behaviors, and
Right.
that takes faith that it's going to work. You know, it would be helpful if you had support from people around you. Like, it's really hard right now, even on a daily basis, this is why I feel like I need to move out to the country, because if I'm just, like, walking around, I can't be like, oh, let me pop in here and get, like, an organic, grass-fed burger, you know, where things haven't been cleaned with chemicals and whatever. It's like, I have to think about everything. Like, I go into a supermarket and I'm like, poison, 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 poison. You know, like, oh, that's in a can, I can't eat that. That's in plastic, I can't have that. You know, just so it's not only what's in the ingredients list, which is a nightmare to begin with, but it's like the packaging that I have to think about now.
Yeah,
it's like,
the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to... So this is an idea I had when I was 21, and I didn't act on it then, and it's not as formed as it is now. And I don't know, there are times that change needs to happen. Like, there just have to be people who see it and, like, push it through. And I feel like I'm one of those people. Like, I feel like I have some insight to how to change, and the things that... And again, I'm doing this, like, I'm kind of risking my life to prove this point.
Right.
I am.
Yeah.
It's not kind of, sort of, like, at some point I'm going to have to risk my life,
Right.
because I'm determined that I can do this without drugs.
Well, you're going to be battling like the big industries, the multi-million-dollar industries.
Yes, I am.
And you know, it's going to be your voice versus theirs.
Well,
And
here's the thing that I have working in my favor is cancer statistics. Everyone knows someone with cancer. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women in their lifetime will get cancer. So, there's a lot of survivors out there already. I'm going to be like, you know what? This is my idea, and I've had enough. You know, at some point, and this is where the like the infrastructure that we built, the social networking. Like, I want to create a point. Like, I want to have. I want to talk to other people. Like, I want the Facebook that Facebook should be. You know, where there's just, like, we have too much shit in our lives. Like, there's too much cancer in our lives. What I also mean by that is, marketing and imagery and ideas and the 24/7 news with the thing at the bottom. Like, we just don't need to be inflicted with this much information.
Material. Yeah, so much information.
You know?
Much. Yeah.
Now,
right, I agree.
The reason there is that, I'm talking about turning the entire how things are done on its head, because I'm basically talking about destroying the financial system, destroying Wall Street. Because if people start to, like, the kind of businesses that I want to support, so I want a portal, you know, like Good Search, but they don't go far enough. You know, have a search engine where, like, people aren't, like, I have to believe that if they knew better, they would do better. You know, like, if they had two things and I could say, like, this is made in the U.S. and this is made by terrorists somewhere in, you know, wherever they are, I'm pretty sure you would buy this one, right? If I could prove to you that one was a better choice and you lost nothing by doing this choice, wouldn't you do this one? Now, where change needs to happen is, okay, so the first thing is, okay, like the person getting the choice